I'm about to make a peach cobbler that you have probably never seen before. This peach cobbler recipe contains both a batter and pie crust. It contains the best of both worlds, and I'm going to show you just how I made it. I'm using frozen peaches, but you can also use fresh peaches if you want to. I figure why take that extra time to peel and cut the peaches when somebody has already done it for you. So I'm using 2 of those bags of peaches, which equals up to 4 cups. And to that, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of sugar, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, and a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. And then I'm just going to mix that together before I put it on the stove. I just want to make sure I get it completely combined before I do that. And once I get on the stove, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of flour. Now the flour is going to help to thicken it a little bit. You don't need to add too much. So I'm going to stir this to combine it and cook it over medium heat. And I'm going to cook it for about 15 minutes until the peaches become soft. So you want to make sure that you do take the time to cook those down. 15-20 minutes maybe, it just depends on your stove. But you want to make sure that they are softened, because once you bake it, you don't have another chance for it. And the oven will only soften so much, so you want to make sure that you do this while it's on the stove. Next, I'm going to get my pie crust ready. You can see I'm shaking the flour on the parchment. I'm just using a Parmesan shaker. Nothing fancy, it's just a regular Parmesan shaker. I made my own pie dough. It's very easy to make. It doesn't take long at all. Plus, I like the butter flavor, so that's something I don't really see in the store, so I just like to make my own. After I rolled out my pie dough, I'm going to use a piece of parchment that I cut into a 9x13 shape, and I'm going to use it to be the template to cut my pie dough to be that shape, because this is going to lay right on top of the peach cobbler. Making the template was easy. All I did was use a measuring tape and trace 9x13 on a piece of parchment and cut it out. It was that simple. Now, if you want to, you can just use 1 layer of pie dough for this, but I am going to use 2. So I'm going to cut out 2 of these templates. I'm going to take one of them and lay them right over the top of the other. This is going to give me more crust than if I were to just use 1. And I like a lot of crust. I think the addition of 2 of them gives you a perfect amount of crust for this recipe. Once I've got them stacked, I'm going to put them in the refrigerator while I make the batter. Now this batter is really easy as well. So it's going to be 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.25 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. I'm mixing the dry ingredients together just to make sure that they are completely combined. You can also mix this together in a bowl if you don't want to use a stand mixer. So I'm adding in 1.5 cups of whole milk to this. Once I've got the milk added, I'm going to mix it for about a minute until all of the ingredients are completely combined. Once I've got my batter ready, it's then time to assemble the batter. I've melted 1 stick of unsalted butter, and I'm going to put that right in the bottom of my 9x13 pan. Next, what I'm doing is taking that batter and I'm pouring it right over the top of the melted butter. Don't try to mix them together, you don't need to do that. Just pour it right over the top. And once I've got all of the batter added, it's now time to add my peach mixture to it. When I add the peaches, I want to make sure that I am getting the peaches added evenly. So I want to make sure that I get peaches in every bite, and that I give the batter an opportunity to rise up instead of clumping it all in one area. Because if I did that, that's exactly what would happen. And if you did that, you would not be happy with your cobbler. I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and I'm going to put this in the oven for about 20 minutes. And when it comes out, it's not going to be done, and I don't want it to be done at this point, because if I cook it completely, then I won't have an opportunity to add my pie dough and get a pie crust on the top. So I'm taking it out after 20 minutes and then adding my double layers of pie dough to the top. Then I'm going to brush it with an egg wash. And I did not mean to get this much of the egg whites, but I'm just going to brush this right on in. And for the egg wash, I've got 1 tablespoon of water mixed with 1 egg. The egg wash helps with the browning, but if you use 1 egg by itself without adding water, it'll just get a little too brown. So a lot of people like to add water to it to make it light brown instead of deep brown. And we're going to sprinkle the top with some sweetness and bake for another 20 minutes. And this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. It's absolutely delicious. And you can see this from the sides. You can see where you've got your batter and peaches mixed in together, and the pie crust sitting right on top, baked in. Let me know what you think of this concept. I can promise you your friends and family will love this. It will be a hit.